Thank you so much for joining us for the Meet Them Where They Are, our June webinar surrounding the F&M Dream Builders case study. I am one of the hosts, Dan Grealish. I'm actually the project manager for F&M Bank, along with James Petrozzelli, the account coordinator for F&M Bank, Paul Tonelli, our creative director here at Pannos, and Kailyn Gallagher, our media manager. So we're very excited to get into this account. I think this has been a fun one for all of us across the board. For F&M, they reached out to us, I want to say around August of last year, to discuss ways that they could capitalize on some newer markets they were getting into and looking at customer acquisition, and we gave them the idea of being able to start targeting children. It's a group, or I should say just children, but younger generations. As we go into it more, we'll talk about the different tiers that we have, but it's a good group to kind of get those sticky customers and allow them to have a longevity and create generational accounts across the board throughout the bank. So I kind of teased some of that, but we have this broken up into 4 different tiers, being able to target different groups of people at different ages, as well as kind of different target groups. So James, do you want to kind of talk about the tiers that we have and how we've kind of been instrumental with those?
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. So we do have 4 tiers. They're the building blocks tier, which is ages 0 to 12. And I would say that's definitely the most popular so far when it comes to account openings. And I think the reason for that is because there's like kind of an emotional play with parents. Parents have a strong desire to start their children's financial journey on the right path and set them up for a lifetime of financial success and security. So yeah, that's why I believe that's been the most successful so far. And then, of course, we have building know-how, which is your young teenager years, ages 13 to 15, and that's the part of that would be the part of a customer's life where the kids start reaching milestones such as entering high school, becoming more independent, going out alone with their friends for the first time. It's when they start needing money to do all the things that excite them. The next one is I'm sorry, Paul.
No, I was going to say, yeah, exactly. That's where they need to be kind of toned down a little bit and learn maybe how to save their money and not spend it on.
Thinking about getting a car.
Right. Yeah, toning down their spending is where the financial education comes into play, which is another aspect of the account that we'll talk a little bit about. And then, of course, building steam, ages 16 to 18. This is the time when teens really start becoming more independent, start becoming their own person, have an identity. And then, during this time in late high school, kids started saving for college, their proms, graduations, trips, cars, just on that path to becoming more independent with their finances. And then finally, we have the building opportunity age group, which I feel like isn't talked about that much. This is the time when kids really start becoming fully independent and responsible for all of their finances. They're navigating through college, paying for books, and paying for experiences as well. So it's really important for them to have their money stored in an account, with a bank they can trust, with all of the incentives that F&M offers and the security as well.
Well, I think when we started this, just creatively, it was obviously those different tiers we wanted to speak to very specifically because, as you said, they have different needs, different desires. So even though we're talking to the parents, we want to make sure that end message is going to to that young kid or the teenager that has not only the desire to kind of save money, but also the desire to spend it, right? So there's a lot of motivations that happen at different age groups. And from a creative standpoint, we definitely looked at those when, like you said, when you're speaking to the parent. It makes sense to sort of bring them all together in some sort of emotional tie.
Yeah, Paul, and that's one of the great things about the account too. You talked about the different tiers and the different benefits they offer. Someone can open this account at any time between ages 0 and 21, so they can start earning the benefits based on their life stage at any point. So that's one of the great things about it.
I think also something that Paul, you touched on when James was discussing the second tier, and something I didn't talk about was with F&M themselves. One of their pillars is being a leader for financial education, and that's one thing that this account does, and it does very well. It does help kids learn how their spending can affect them. If they don't have enough in their account, they can't buy that video game, they can't buy that car, like Kailyn mentioned. And though this account helps them build that foundation through financial literacy, it also helps them with earnings as well. They're lending a hand to kind of kick these generational customers off and put them out on a good foot. So,
well, we were fortunate enough to work on the F&M brand from the ground floor. So as products enter the fold, and we have more opportunities to actually kind of promote benefits within a product, it's nice to align them with the brand cues, right? The things that are meaningful to the brand. And being from Ohio, this sort of Midwestern sort of work ethic and kind of working for your money is really something that kind of aligns with who they are, just as a region. And a product like this just is the beginning of teaching those lessons at a young age, and then getting them out into the marketplace consistently. That message, we can talk a little further about that, but maybe Kailyn, you can kind of speak to just how we put those things out into the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. From a paid media perspective, we wanted to make sure that we were really hitting all of the key points, that, we would have a tactic that really got the awareness out there, something that was going to be a conversion driver, and then something, really to help kind of remind people, it requires multiple touch points for a user to essentially become a customer. And so we ultimately settled on, paid search, a programmatic remarketing campaign to bring people back, and then some social media. And I think one piece of the creative in particular that stood out to me, that I thought one just really kind of nailed it for social, is we have some copy saying, adulting just got easier. And I think, one, like that kind of language works really well on social, but also, Paul, like you were saying, it's, that area, it's a good work ethic and working for your money, but also showing the bank's value that, hey, we're going to make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah. And that was one of the, if you think about putting a meaningful message out there, right? It's obviously, you want to build that connection and that trust, with your audience, but at the same time, it's a bank putting a product out there, so even though this is a bit of a long game when it comes to like a parent jumping into the fold and say, okay, this is, a life's path of financial, education and needs, and, making sure that you're putting the right tools in your kids' hands. But from a bank standpoint, we're starting with, what are our goals? What are the objectives that we want for this? And, quite frankly, it's gaining accounts too. So that mix of being extremely thoughtful and obviously caring about, the message that you're putting out there, because it's, this is reality to families and parents and to kids and such. But at the same time, making sure that we're putting the message out there that we're making your life a little bit easier. And that starts now, as, I'm a parent of 4 kids, and, life is busy. You're doing all these things to just get through your day, and make sure that you're doing the right thing, just for your home and for your family. But you also have these things nagging. It's like, what, I want to teach my kid that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And you always think that that barrier is really, really huge. So having a partner, a bank partner that can help you through it and make that process easier is huge.
Well, and I think too, from, a banking perspective, being able to get them when they are younger, a lot of people, they do stay with the accounts that their parents set up for them. How many people here still have the bank account that they
Yeah.
had when they were kids,
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I myself have been with the same credit union for the past 31 years. It's just been, again, with this account, we're allowing parents to provide for their kids. Like Paul said, I'm getting to the age where kids are on the horizon, and I need to start thinking about, even now, what I can do to set them up for the future. And so if I can put my kids in the hands of a good financial institution that's going to take care of them and teach them the ropes on the way, that's something that I will want to do. And I think, going back, even Kailyn, to you talking about the copy that was used and making adulting easier, I think that even spans across not just to parents to kids, but you can even use that within the older brackets as well. Those college kids or college age, going to college, they're ones that have to start thinking about, what's my next step? How am I going to get that paycheck? Where is that paycheck going to go? How can I save that? I think it can be used across the board. But
Absolutely.
I think we took a really good step in the creative process and allowed for dynamic landing pages and dynamic ads to really meet those customers where they were at, whether it was the parents of that 0 to 12-year-olds, or the 13 to 15-year-old, or even the college age students. And Paul, I know your team was very crucial in all of that, and allowing media to work on what they needed to do and target those customers. So do you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. Like everything that we do, as a marketing agency, we start at the foundation, and understand, as I mentioned earlier, start defining those objectives and those goals. And it's a team effort. We're working, with the client, and we're trying to wrestle that beast to the ground a little bit and understand, what are the key points that are going to lead to really strong messaging, and that leads to a creative brief. As most agencies, we'll use a strategy document to move forward. This was really vital for this type of project because, it has multiple tiers, which, even though you may think the parent is the only audience, we're also speaking to the tiered, kind of age groups as well. So that creative brief really needed to come together and make sure that we were able to allow us the opportunity to build messaging that speaks to everyone. And once we had that in place, now we're off to the races, because we can start building work that aligns with that. The client can look at that creative as it is held up against the creative brief. Go, yeah, okay, we nailed it. We're on our way. Brainstorming a name for the account. Dream Builders may not seem like it's, oh my gosh, it's a Coca-Cola campaign here. But at the same time, you want to be clear with your messaging. And when you have maybe a new child and you're thinking about the future, it is about dreams, and it's about goals, and it's about looking forward and trying to, build a really strong path, not just financially. I mean, that's what we're speaking to, but as a parent, you're thinking about everything. So the sensitivities there from a creative standpoint that we wanted to make sure we were sensitive to, and dialing it up when we needed to, and kind of being a little bit more just straightforward as well, because clarity is important. But when we get in a room and we have the right people in place, brainstorming, whether it's names or the creative direction, it really comes down to having the right people in the room. So the team that you're looking at here, being in that space, because we're close to the client and what they're looking to achieve, makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely. And I think, even speaking to that creative brief, we've had a good foundation with our relationship with F&M. And I think that the name Dream Builders, it came out of some other work that we had done with them too. And that's showing that with the client and this team, we're really building something that speaks to the bank's brand and what they're doing. And I think it's another great thing there. And brainstorming, absolutely, it's a great team.
I'm sorry to cut you off there. I wanted to bring, before I forget it, because I will, Kailyn had brought up something earlier that I you generally, start your your bank relationship with the relationship your parents have. But an account like this actually starts to pull, I mean, that's why it's so powerful, because it has the ability to actually speak and maybe bring people over. Because if your current, financial institution doesn't offer that, now you're looking at something that is a long-term relationship. And, that emotional tie can begin with us. We at Pannos, as many of our listeners might know, 99.9% of our clients are banks, right? So we know this very well, that like one of the hardest thing to do is to sway someone from one financial institution into another. So coming up with differentiators and things that are special is great, right? That's the holy grail when you can have a product and a bank relationship, a client relationship that we can really push forward and maybe create a new path for new customers.
Yeah, and Paul, I mean, that's why this was such an eye-catching and unique account, because as I was saying earlier, you think of it as a 0 to 12 account where parents are, scrolling through Facebook and they see an ad and they say, maybe expecting parents, and they're like, I want to start my kid out on the right path in life. But we also have to think about the 15-year-old who has a trip coming up with his friends, and in 2 years, and he wants to gain a little bit of interest on his account so he can save up for it, or the kid going to college next year who says, well, my books are going to cost $1,000. I want to put a couple $100 in this account and watch it grow and gain that $10 reward benefit. So it's definitely an account for all ages, and I think that's why the unique landing page and digital ad sets were so important. Because, and then if you look at the results, F&M is getting account openings from each of those tiers on a pretty consistent basis.
The selection of photography and word choices is a big part of staying really close to that audience too. If you look at some of the work that we pulled together, it really was about showing those different stages, the formative years, that really can resonate with a parent. I understand what that feels like, when they're looking at it. So we're very selective. We're very selective with the type of photography we use and the messaging, to the individual groups.
Yeah, I know that James was mentioning that the client is seeing results from this, which is obviously the goal. We can have a cool idea and great creative all day, but if the client isn't ultimately seeing results on their end, then it wasn't really that successful. But they are, and the results we have been seeing are phenomenal. In just the first 3 months, there was over 10,000 visitors to the dynamic landing pages. Ultimately, there's almost 1,200 events on the pages and over 730 accounts opened in 3 months.
Wow.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like James was saying, it goes to show you not just the uniqueness of the account, but we're honing in on the exact groups and demographics that we want to hit, and we're doing it in a thoughtful and just thoughtful way, making sure that we're doing everything we can to make it successful, and people see the benefits of this account as well.
From being a creative director and looking at things through that lens, even though there's a very distinct product, sometimes to me and to our team anyways, and probably most creative people, you look at everything from a brand standpoint. So even though there might be a rate or there's an account that we're trying to push, it's still a brand expression. Going back to sort of our conversations earlier during this webinar, it's an expression of your organization, and this one, shines really bright because it's doing the right thing. It's not pushing, too hard. It's not a sell piece, even though, there's an objective that, wants to bring in accounts. But I think that sensitivity really speaks to the brand. and how we play it out is really, has been important to us. And I think that's, leads to success too, because people believe in who you are. Not that, you're just trying to sell them, but it's like, they can connect as a family who, has certain needs and, goals, and say, that's someone I can, hook my wagon to a little bit, because they feel like, the same way I feel.
Yeah. People don't want to be sold. People want to know that they have someone that's in their corner with them. And I think that this account definitely does that, like you said, Paul.
Yeah, the hooking the wagon thing really showed my age there a little bit, so I might pull that one out of here.
It's okay. You can get the grandkids signed up on the account, right?
Yeah. It's Hitch, anyways. I think, is it Hitch Your Wagon? Is that
yes, yeah. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else that the team wants to talk about here? I think we've talked about a lot and showing the dynamics of this account and the good that it's doing for their communities in the markets that they're in. But
oh, good. This was great.
Yeah. Well, with that, we just want to thank you guys for joining the Pannos Marketing's June webinar. We really appreciate all of you being here with us. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll be here for July as well.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Okay.